Yeah, thank you for staying. I was really thinking everyone follows Eula. She is so entertaining. My name is Claus, as you have heard and can read. With this first name, you know to which age group I belong, because I don't think there are any Clauses born anymore. That's a long time ago. Before I go into the presentation, and you can read the title here, I want to ask you something. And it's very simple. What is your perception about Toyota? What comes to your mind when you hear Toyota? And you can be very honest. Reliable cars, that's a given, yeah. Anything else? Hybrid, it's also a given. You said boring cars? You said boring cars. No, honestly, about 10, 15 years ago, we built terribly dull cars. I mean, you all know this first generation Prius and the second generation even, they were ducks on wheels, terrible from the design. But I also want to change your perception a bit. And sometimes I hear the saying of, yeah, in Europe, Toyota is not that strong. So let's look at the numbers here. And this is passenger car market, total Europe, first 9 months this year, sales on a brand level. So Volkswagen is number 1 with 9.8% market share, and the number 2 is Toyota. And you are not becoming number 2 in Europe by just selling reliable and boring cars. Just to change a little bit the perception here. So we are not that bad on the way in Europe. You can argue the numbers may vary a little bit depending on what you define as total Europe. The UK numbers are in here. But they are, of course, always a bit of a kind of a definition area. And you see also that this year is pretty much driven by supply capability. So the companies who can supply have a market share gain. This will change over time again. But you can also argue those companies who have managed supply have done something better than maybe the others. So that's about Europe. But now coming to my presentation, the Toyota way. What is it? Why change? And then finally, that's why we are here, what coaching has to do with it. So when we now move a little bit from the European level to the global level, you might be familiar with these kind of headlines that says, Toyota remains world's biggest car seller, or record profits, very profitable company. So what is the secret behind all of this? What is the secret of Toyota? And searching for the secret started in the early 90s. Many experts came up and they believed to know what makes Toyota different. Thousands of books. I was at General Motors in the early 90s and everyone was looking at Toyota. How do they build such high quality cars so efficiently? And it was all about the Toyota production system. And every manufacturer in the world tried to copy Toyota in terms of production system. And they, to a certain extent, failed. And I want to go into the reason why this might have been the case. So many experts believe, or to know what makes Toyota different. There's another expert who also believes to know what Toyota makes different. His name is Akio Toyoda. He's the CEO of the Toyota Motor Corporation, and he's the grandson of Kiichiro Toyoda, who is the founder of the corporation. So in a certain way, Toyota is still a family-owned business, believe it or not. And Akio, he's a kind of a rock star. When he talks, everyone knows him, loves him. When he talks globally to executives in the entire world, to retailers in the entire world, he's a kind of a rock star. And basically, the only thing he talks about in all his speeches is about values. Toyota values, nothing more. And that brings me to the point that when we talk about the Toyota way, it's not just a process or a set of rules. Above all, it's what I call an attitude. In German, we would say eine Haltung. And maybe take 2 examples for it. The one is out of the production system, pulling the andon. It's a kind of a cord that is on every assembly line. And when the worker at the assembly line has a problem, he pulls the cord. This is something all the other manufacturers copied in the early 90s. And now comes the point to the attitude. I've been to Burnaston in northern England, where we produce Toyota cars. And when you talk to the line workers, in average, they pull the Enden line every 47 seconds, something like that. And they pull it when they have a problem. And the problem is, I put this screw into the kind of door panel, and it was not so easy than before. So I pull the line, and there are other people then coming to this point to help him. What is the problem? I mean, we are in northern England, and there are some blokes at the assembly line, I really can tell you. When you ask them about what is your job here, they give you the answer, and I'm honest to this. I report problems. If you don't have a problem, you have a problem. This is what you get as an answer. So this is very much about the attitude, and I think everything about, we have heard in the morning, freedom to fail. If you go there and say, I have the freedom to fail, and then you make something wrong, and then as the first person coming and cuts off your head, you do it once, but you don't do it a second time. And I think this is what I mean with kind of attitude versus a process. The second thing I like also very much is Genshi Genbutsu. It says, go and see by yourself, or go to the source. It really basically means, before you have an opinion, go and look at the problem and collect the facts. Honestly, in Europe, we are often in the opposite. We have an opinion to everything. Also, we don't know the facts and understand the problem. And we are very much good in blaming. This politician should do this, and they failed, and it's all terrible. This is not at all a Toyota way. It's really, when you experience it, they take this Genshi Genbutsu very serious. And a nice element in this is also the Toyota 5 why. Ask 5 times why, and then you have found the source of a problem. You can test it, you can do it with your kids and these kind of things. It's really fun. I had a very personal experience the last time I was in Japan in the Kuragaike Commemorative Hall. So this is my really most emotional personal experience with what I call Toyota Way. This Kuragaike Hall used to be a kind of a board member retreat, a kind of an off-site location, or kind of a sanctuary of Toyota. And there is a small stair going down into a cellar, and they have a little museum there about the Toyota history. And we went down these stairs, and then you first get again this kind of introduction, how Toyota transformed from a loom company into a car company. And this was in the early 1930s. Sakichi Toyota, the founder of the loom company, sold all his patents to an English company, and they were sitting on a chunk of money. And he had a great idea to his son, Kiichiro, saying, now you take this money and you build cars. So it was in the early 1930s. In Japan, there was basically not a single car engineer in whole Japan. So what they did do is they bought US cars, they dismantled them, they tried to copy them, and they built their own cars. And naturally, the result was the cars were crap. The quality was pretty poor because they did not have any experience. And now we are coming to this point. So you get this kind of story in the sanctuary of Toyota about moving from a loom company to a car company, and then you turn around and you are in the middle of this little museum, and there is a kind of a diorama. It really looks a bit like a model railway thing, and I really went with my camera close to it to make this kind of photo. And I explain you the story on this. The green truck is a Toyota truck who broke down once again because the quality was so poor. The white people in these white anoraks, overalls, they are Toyota engineers. Genshi Genbutsu, go to the source, solve the problem. The person on the upper left side who's a bit angry is the owner of the truck, because he had a very urgent delivery, and again this shitty car broke down, and now his whole business is going away, and he's very upset. And the person who bends and apologizes is Kiichiro Toyoda, the founder of the company. And to make this humiliation perfect, the truck in the background, the brown one, is not a Toyota truck, it's a Ford, because they did not have any replacement car left. So this is the story. And now coming back, we are in the heart of a Toyota, what I call a sanctuary. And they put this situation of, this went pretty wrong, as the starting point for their kind of Toyota way thinking. And I was really kind of pretty impressed. I think they take it serious. With all these words of corporate social responsibility and what you can read and so on, they really take it serious. And this is what the company is. And I think this is one major element why it has become a successful company. So, what is the secret behind this? Or in other words, why change? Why should we change a Toyota way if we are a successful company? And the answer again is from someone you know, from Akio. He said, I think it was about 4 years ago, something like that, the automotive industry has entered an era of profound transformation, the likes of which come only once every 100 years. And now be careful, a crucial battle has begun, not one about winning or losing, but about surviving and dying. That sounds pretty fierce, especially for German words, I would say, in some way. This is hard stuff. Transformation. You easily think about new mobility, and then we all drive e-scooters and ride-hailing and car sharing and all this kind of blah, blah. That's all fine. But when you come to a national sales company, this transformation is much more simple, much more to the point. Take electric vehicles. The margins are lower. Very simple. When you take an electric vehicle into service, you cannot really sell an oil change. You can try, but it doesn't really work, I can tell you. And it's anyway when you buy a liter of olive oil and you pay 20 euro for it, everyone says, whoa, 20 euro for a liter of olive oil, that's expensive. That must be a good olive oil. When the people put their car into service and they pay 40, 50 euro a liter for a liter of engine oil, that's fine. My Porsche needs that. It drives much better with it. I can feel it. So I want to illustrate you can make a lot of money still with very basic things. The same is with autonomous driving or driver assistance functions. Very nice features. The problem with these features is you have less accidents. And when you have less accidents, you have less replacement parts. And you make a lot of money on replacement cars. And this is all going away. This is what I wanted to bring across, what transformation means for a vehicle distribution company. So Akio Toyoda has talked about transformation. And he said the Toyota way has to change. It's not that we throw away the old thing, but the center of gravity is changing. And I'm not reading all these elements here, but from consensus to developing together. Consensus is one of the strengths of the Toyota way, but it can be also an excuse for not making tough decisions. And if I may say so, maybe the Japanese way is also that you are very a consensus-oriented society, and then you talk with this person, and are you agreeing with this and this and this and this, and until everyone has agreed, time has gone by. So there's a bit of a change in there, for instance. From making things perfect, yes, of course, our quality, to experimentation. Honestly, when you read all this, this is nothing special. And we have seen Fujitsu this morning. They have used different words, but basically it's all about the same thing. It's more about the words are fine, but how do you translate it into an attitude? And maybe not everything in this direction is also the right thing to do. I personally, when I enter a plane and there is a pilot, and I know the pilot is a learner, and he's doing experimentation, and he says yes to risk, maybe I'm not so comfortable to enter this kind of plane. But it's about the direction and the principle here. So to make all this a bit more catchy, tangible, the Toyota way was then kind of grouped into 5 categories, the 5 C's: collaboration, creativity, coaching, courage, and curiosity. And every single one of these C has what we call below 4 behavioral indicators. So we have a relatively clear description. When we talk about courage, what do we mean with this? What do we expect from you in terms of courage? And the nice thing also for me about this is going away from talking about what I have done to how I have done certain things. Do I have done this with creativity, with courage? Very special for Toyota is also, Toyota is not a company that imposes things globally in the same way. So when the Toyota way, the new Toyota way, traveled from Toyota City, that's the headquarters in Toyota City, traveled all the way over to Toyota Motor Europe, the headquarters is in Brussels. Actually, only there the 5C were invented. In Japan, no one talks about 5C. They talk about the Toyota way in the traditional way, in a way. And when the 5C moved from Toyota Motor Europe to Toyota Germany, also there was a bit of an adaptation or a kind of a local specific rollout. And I give you the reasons why. What are the specifics of Toyota Deutschland? Toyota Deutschland is a company that has become lean. A couple of years ago, we were, as a sales company, still more than 300 people. We are now at a level of 200. And we have achieved that with early retirements, with outsourcing activities, and so on. But it's important to know, because managing the workload from there to now is still an issue we are kind of dealing with. And Toyota Germany is different to all other sales companies in Europe. Toyota Italy, Toyota France, Spain especially, they grew with the market share gain, and they came from a very small company now to an established company. We are coming a kind of a different way. That was one specific. We still have in our workforce a great sense of belonging, Toyota family feel, commitment to the company, to enjoying working here is, despite all the workload issues, very, very strong. And we still have an aging workforce. We have people who are there for 15, 20 years, and there is nothing wrong with it. But when it comes to change, there's a certain tendency to say, yeah, let's make it maybe the person who comes after me. Yeah? And this is something also we kind of need to take care of. And fourth point is we have a very strong retailer relationship, which is good. But German retailers are very self-confident people. They're entrepreneurs. If you would tell them they are franchise takers, they would jump in your face. And in times of where margins get smaller and smaller, it's maybe also something to work at having a strong retailer relationship. So this is the kind of framework when we started to roll out our 5C in November last year. And we did the usual stuff, like everyone does. We did workshops, trainings, communication measures, and all these kind of things. We started up there with a manager offsite on the 3rd of November, I remember. And then it was about the strategy, and then what 5C means, and all these kind of things. We did all employee meetings. We had some kind of playful things, like in the lower left, a 5C meeting checklist, which is a bit of a fun part, but with a serious background to say, now we had a meeting for 1 hour. Did we decide anything new? Did we change anything fundamentally? So a kind of a playing with it. Are we 5C? 5C enough? Yes or no? We did also do it was a bit of a fun part, and I did it with Andreas and my daughter, where we said we make a Spotify 5C list. And it was a big fun, because you find so many things about coach, courage. What do we have here? Courage von Pink, and we had a very, very terrible rap also out of the net. And we ended up with Frank Zander, lass mal 5 gerade sein. Also it was really kind of a fun part in it. So we did the kind of usual stuff. We also established a virtual dojo. Dojo is another Japanese name for exercise room. If you're a little bit familiar with Japanese kind of fighting techniques, aikido, these kind of things, it's quite nice. It's not a physical exercise. It's very much also a mindset thing. And that's why we thought this type of dojo fits very well. It's very simple. It's a kind of an interactive library where you have these interactive touch points, where you find everything about 5C. This should be the place to go when you think about 5C. That's what we build up. So where do we stand right now? And this was kind of end of September. In October, it's really kind of black and white, yeah? But I took out two things. The one thing is feedback, how to create time for creativity. We're still drowned with the kind of daily task. You remember, workload issue coming from a big company to a smaller company. So we have taken external support, a kind of a process company that also looks at industrial processes, and we are screening daily tasks and routines and asking questions, why do you still need these kind of things in Excel lists, and are there no better ways of doing it, and how can you get rid of this kind of thing you are doing? Why are you doing it? It works and it works not so well. This is the usual thing as well, because also people don't like doing certain routine things. To get rid of them and to get rid of habits and things they don't like but do like, it's not so easy. But this is the kind of basement for our activities on 5C, also to look at the efficiency of our current things. If we want to have freedom to think about new things, we need to get rid of many old things. The other thing is issues or statements like, oh, we are pretty good. The Toyota way, we anyway lived, and the new Toyota way, yeah, we're doing it every day. Especially in the sales department, oh, we are doing it every day. Otherwise, we would not achieve our numbers at the month's end. And we want to break this as well. And are we really pretty good already? I've taken the following. I've used this external company who is screening our processes and said, hey, read this. This is our 5C list. You're in a company A, in a company B, in a company C, in a company D. You know other companies. How would you rate us in terms of 5C? And I tell you, the result was a bit different. And this is what you need to talk about. You need to confront with this feedback. And also, we still need to be clear with the what, because our situation is still a bit too comfortable. You saw Akio Toyota about transformation, about the next years to come. We are still making good money, and we are achieving numbers and so on. So the kind of pressure, the necessity is maybe not in every case felt. And finally, you need to be consistent with your messages, and I don't really drill on this, but for me, this is very much a manager responsibility. And this is maybe the biggest task in any transformational process, to have the consistency in behavior also when you look at managers. So, as I said, we did all the usual stuff. We had this kind of workshops and comms measures and so on. And suddenly we came to the point that we said, within the dojo, we are opening a second room. And this is the coaching room. So once you had finalized your trainings on this one of these interactive points, you were granted access to a second room, which is then the coaching room. So why coaching? And the answer is very simple, and I think we have heard it a couple of times already today. It's about behavioral change, and behavioral change you cannot teach. And if once the stimulation goes down, you fall back in old patterns. This is very natural. This is human beings. So we wanted to do something which is kind of more lasting, more on the long term. And then my boss and I, we had a fantastic idea. And we were so excited about this idea and said, great, and this it? We said, we make coaching for everybody. And we got in touch with Daniel, and you know Daniel, he's a fantastic salesman. He was excited too as well and said, yeah, this is a great idea, and I make you a fantastic offer. And the offer came, and we were looking at the numbers and said, oh shit. this is quite a lot of money. So what is the ROI of this investment? How do you measure success? I mean, we had a previous presentation about this. It's a fair question. Maybe we talk about it later. But of course, we kind of negotiated and adapted and so on. And finally, we also came to a good package. And then we started coaching for everybody. We have just started in October, so we are pretty fresh on it. Apart from behavioral change, or what is the content, or what is the personal objective I have in all this coaching, is the following. It starts with a self-assessment, and the self-assessment is customized to 5C. We invested a bit of time into this so that you kind of ask yourself or answer yourself questions, and then you get a kind of a strengths profile and a maybe development profile. And self-assessment should lead into self-reflection. For me personally, the most important things is over coaching, I hope people getting a capability in changing perspectives and in feedback. Giving feedback, but also receiving feedback. And I don't think it's a special Toyota topic. It's a topic in every company, and maybe it's a human being issue as well. This is maybe the most important thing. And on top of this, as a fifth point, we also decided to make group experiences or group coachings, and we just had the discussion in the previous speaker. It's a bit of an experiment. We have had the first group sessions, and it worked well, but it worked also in a way maybe, I'm coming back to what I said before, we are already good enough, yeah, we are pretty good, that in a group coaching, you could have the effect that everyone kind of confirms to each other that we are already pretty good. And this is not what we should get out of a group coaching. So we are thinking a little bit about how to fine-tune this. In principle, I have to say, what I really enjoy is, and this is no advertisement speech here now, but it's really a conviction. What I like very much at CoachHub, they don't sell you a package and leave you alone with this. We have a very close interaction and a very close willingness to say, hey, what could we do better? In the sense of Toyota way. This kind of could we do better in this and this and this. So that's about it. I was looking at the time. I'm still in time, huh? So basically, out of the coaching, I just want to say thank you for listening, and I hope I could give you some insight in the Toyota way. This was also a picture I did the last time in Japan. Maybe to sum it all up, if you are interested in Japanese words, at the lower part of this plate, there is this saying of Ichigo Ichie. I hope I speak it in the right way. I learned this from a monk in the Kyoto temple area. It says, direct translation, one time, one moment. In Europe, you maybe would say there is no second chance for a first impression. So I hope I made a good first impression, and thank you for listening, and then I'm open to questions.